Welcome to a Drop Tent Media Production.
The Porcupine with Adam Nutter.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to, that's right, 2 days in a row, a live episode of The Porcupine. I am Adam Nutter. Thanks for tuning in, as always. Follow me here. Follow me here, at Adam Nutter. Go to Twitter. You hit follows now, at Adam Nutter. You type it in Twitter, and you follow me there. Also, please, youtube.com/Adam Nutter, of course. Go check out my other podcast, The Cult of Us, my comedy one. But we do not talk about politics. I promise. It is your escape from politics. We talk about dicks and we make fun of each other. Go listen to Cult of Us. It's also available everywhere. youtube.com/Cult of Us. So please, guys, hey, go buy a shirt. Go buy a shirt, you fucking stingy fucks. Go buy a shirt. Droptent.com/store. Get your Porcupine shirt. You get the white series here, the black series, and then, of course, your Disobey Your Local Nutter shirt from artwork by Top Lobster himself, the man, the myth, the legend, the Lobster. Go there, droptent.com, /store for your shirts. And then for stand-up, this is live. So this Friday, I'll be at the LPPA convention. You don't have to go to the convention to come to that show. You can just come to the show. So lppa.org/convention to find all the info on there. 6:30 show at the Genetti Hotel. And then I will be opening up for Dave Smith and Tom Woods. They're doing speeches. I'm doing comedy. I know, weird, but I'm doing it. So I'll be open up for them. That's at 8 o'clock. And that you can get tickets at lppa.org/convention for tickets there. $20 at the door for the comedy show at 6:30 though. And then the very next week after that at Chalfont, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philly at the Pop-In, we have Robbie Bernstein coming down. He's headlining 2 shows, 7 and 9:30. Tickets are already selling out. I'm telling you guys right now, like I tell you guys every episode, the Pop-In sells out every month. We have 2 shows, sells out. You guys have to get your tickets. Droptent.com/events. Get your tickets for Robbie the Fire Bernstein. He's selling them out already, so come on out, get them. And then March 22nd, I'll be at the Stand in New York, so coming out to that. It's going to be a fun time. I'm doing Ray Gootz's show. And April 30th, I really want to plug this. I have more stuff, but April 30th, I'm headlining the Shell up in New Hampshire. So all you freedom-loving porcupine fucks in New Hampshire, come the fuck on out. Support your boy. You can get tickets at droptent.com/events again for that. All right. My guest today, we're going to be talking God, religion, liberty. I find it interesting, these topics. I'm married to a Catholic school teacher, as some of you know. So my man from the Faith, Liberty, and Praxis podcast, Caleb Brown.
Hey.
Thank you, brother Bear, for coming on the show.
No problem. Happy to do it.
Yeah, man. So like I was saying, a little backstory of where I fall on the whole religion thing, which is important to go, and then we'll go from there. So I was raised Catholic, went to Catholic high school, did 4 years there. I even wanted to go to a Catholic college, not because of that. It was just because I had to, not important, but like I had to go to Catholic. I went to St. John's. I stopped going to church around like my junior year of high school because I was like, I was like a hard atheist like senior year of high school. Like, I think most Catholic school kids go through. Your parent, my mom really was like, yo, you gotta go to church, gotta go to church. Hated it. I just cared about football and shit like that. Then as I got older, I was like, who am I to think that there is nothing? Right? Like, that's fucking arrogant. That's just as arrogant as saying there is for sure a God. So it's like, I'm a hypocrite. This is my 20s, my early and mid 20s now going through. Where like, I'm a hypocrite. Like, who am I to say? I'm like, I still don't think there's a God, but like, I don't know. Now I'm 35 and I'm a lot more to the point of like, I'm definitely sure something out there created something. Like, I don't know if it's like Catholic God or Jewish God or fucking Hindu God or whatever. I'm not a denomination, but like, I believe we have a creator. And again, my wife is a Catholic school teacher and she believes. That's my background of where I'm at now, where I came from. So what is your background into, the whole faith?
Born and raised Protestant. Then it became like an anarchist and really disliked most Protestant of Romans 13. And then my pastor gave a sermon on Romans 13. Like, okay, I can't be here anymore. and decided to go Catholic. I've always enjoyed Catholicism a lot. Every time every answer I looked in, every time I looked up trying to find an answer to something, I always ended up going with the Catholic answer of things because normally white. And then I just started going to Catholic church 1 year from 1 year from this month. Started going, and it's been about 1 year of being Catholic. So that's about it.
How has you feel like your life has improved?
Definitely, 1,000%.
Why so?
With in a lot of Protestantism, one of the things is a lot of people who are Protestants, not all of them, but a lot of them have a very anti-science view or an anti-reason view. They're against like philosophy, they're against reason. They're like a lot of my young Earth people, and I like science, I like evolution, I like a lot of these things, and so I was always viewed as like an atheist type. And now that I'm Catholic, I get to have both. I get to have science and religion. I get to have faith and reason, and so I'm able to research and continue everything I love to study and research and learn about, and not have to feel like I'm being contrary to my faith when I'm doing it. And so I made friends who are even atheists. They understand as Catholics. But like a lot of atheists say, if they want to become Christian, become Catholic, because there's a lot of reason and faith, a lot of reason and science that's in Catholicism. And so it's able to help me kind of bridge the gap between everything. And going to church, going to confessing, going to having the Eucharist, all these things that are a part of Catholicism has been a great impact and very helpful.
So you think almost so the whole higher power, believing in a higher power thing, you feel like there's like order, like you're not just working for nothing, or you're not working for just yourself. Like, is that the whole idea behind it?
I would think so. I'd say it's definitely something that comes with a respecting of hierarchies and authority. Like as anarchist, a lot of anti-authority stuff.
Yeah.
But with being Catholic, I get to have a completely voluntary authority that I believe is right, and so I get to. I'd like to talk about today, like a lot of libertarians are anti-war, but then you just say you're anti-war to some normie. They're like, well, you mean every war? Because that's just a scientist view. But as a Catholic, I get to hold the Dust War Doctrine and say, no, here's the standards you have to meet for me to agree with it. No war ever meets that standard. So there's a lot of things that kind of go along with libertarianism, but I think take it one step further by having a right. He's like, here's what justifies a law. If it doesn't mean he's like a crime about this. If a law is unjust, you don't have to follow it. For a law to be just, it has to be reasonable. No law is reasonable, therefore almost every law is unjust. And so I get it not only have the similar views as all the anarchists people talk to, but I get a hold of something that's not so side as so many people. And so it's given me a lot of benefits in being Catholic and being like a libertarian guy. I get to merge the two. So,
well, yeah, I think you actually answered a question I had immediately, and then you just answered immediately in your statement where you said I was going to say where most of us are like fuck authority, anarchy, but the whole point of religion is to listen to just this omnipotent figure who's like, just do as I say, and you get to this grace, which is again very anti how we think as libertarians generally. Is like fuck, it's because like I look at it as like God's the state in this instance, not this, not the same, but like, is comparison. He's a state, and we're always supposed to question the state. But I know you're saying, well, involuntarily associating with the state in this right. So I guess that's your.
Well, I would say that so I think a lot of the modern view of God is incorrect. A lot of people's modern view of God is some big guy with a beard outside of time who kind of observes everything, and that whatever he says is good is therefore good itself because he has commanded it. It's the old thing from Socrates, like, is what the gods love pious because the gods love it, or is it pious because the gods love it, kind of thing. And with Catholicism, there's no divine command theory. There was good exists outside of God. It just happens to be the same kind of thing. Like we have, that's a bad way of putting it. Let me correct that statement. There's natural law, and so there is good things that can be discovered outside of God. Things are good because God loves them. They're not as good because God said they are good. And God is outside of time, and so it's not like He is commanding things. He is commanding things. It gets confusing, honestly.
Yes.
There's a lot of Catholic distinction between Catholic God and how most people view God that is important, like divine simplicity, that kind of stuff. But if you don't understand it, it's very easy to be against that kind of thing because it's very confusing.
So, okay, well, this might be a large jump, and I don't know. So walk me back if it is. So like the whole free will thing, right? Like, so do you believe in free will, or
Yes.
you're okay? So so to explain that then. So I have to. Is that a point?
Okay, so I know you know Jacob. I don't think Jacob or Daniel. I actually don't know his one name.
No, it's Jacob, and no, he sucks.
Yes, he does. Jacob's a Protestant who I love and respect, but he is a neo-Calvinist, and they don't believe in free will. And so, as a Catholic, really, how people see God and free will is different. If God knows everything, then if he knows what I'm going to do, therefore if he knows what I'm going to do, I have already done it, then I have, I don't have any free will. And that's not really how that works. And it's a Catholic understanding that God is at one point of time looking forward. For Catholics, God is outside of time and is merely present in every moment. So time is, say, all universe, and all time is a box, and God's outside that box. And he can see all the way around the box and sees every moment inside the box. And so he's not seeing forward, he is seeing everything at the same time. So we have to choosing our sayings. He is just in the moment and every second. He's not seeing the future. He just is there at every moment. And so it's not really him seeing what's going on in the future.
So so this is where I get confused, because again, I do have a grasp of Catholicism, because I did go to 4 years essentially, and then another 4 years a little bit of college, of Catholic school. So like I did have to learn all the Old Testament, New Testament, all the shit. Again, my wife is a Catholic school teacher. She teaches more of like the social justice of the church. Which when I say social justice, people automatically think like, BLM and like fucking like, I'm like, no, it's social justice and like service and stuff like that. Like that's what right. That's what that means in the church sense, not in the fucking like political woke sense. So like when I say that, so people understand that. Yeah. So she teaches more like that stuff. So like I do understand some church teachings, but then I get very confusing, because like I've always thought that in the Old Testament, God is vengeful, righteous God. New Testament God is loving, caring God. But I've never heard of 4D dimensional God who's like outside this like fucking like the fucking cult God, Scientology God.
No, it gets really it's a very complicated thing. But it's called divine. It's a divine simplicity, and it is a Catholic doctrine. Catholic are supposed to hold to divine simplicity. It's not often used to teach because it's kind of a confusing thing. But understanding divine simplicity, a lot of the modern critiques on God don't really hold up when you're talking about a divine simplistic, outside of time being like God, and so it gets confusing. Yeah.
So this is I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about it at all. So this is interesting. Okay, so divine simplicity you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that an actual like Catholic church doctrine where it's like where it's not in the Bible now? It's just like
it's so. You can find it. You can't really find in the Bible. You also can't find like Trinity in the Bible. You can't find lots of teachings at all.
Like, so where can you actually?
So the Catechism of the Catholic Church says it is a church teaching that I think it really was researched and figured out by St. Thomas Aquinas. There's a lot of great videos on it. Every Catholic is supposed to hold to it. Not every Catholic does hold to it. But I guess you really want to learn more about it. Bishop Robert Barron has some videos on it, and Pines with Aquinas has some great videos on it that I've been watching. But really, it's anything but simple, and it's I think that's actually the most important thing for Catholics to understand, because it really sets it frames everything going forward, a proper understanding of God. That's the starting point. If you don't have a proper starting point, everything's gonna be messed up. Everything's gonna be messed up, and so understanding that is very important. But understanding is also very difficult. But I would say start with the Catechism. Go find some resources, some videos online, and that's kind of how you can go from there, I guess.
So then why are we always taught like the other ways? Like even in church, like, right? You go to church and I've gone to church for a long time up until junior year of high school, which is a lot of church. I've never once heard a priest be like, so divine simplicity, right? It's like, again, like, God cube, right? Like you got to get, and he's outside this cube. And I would have been way more interested in the homilies if I fucking heard that shit, but I never did. So where is this coming from? Or like, why isn't it?
Well, the reason it's not involved is Vatican II is a big church teaching, a big church, what's it called? Council that happened. I can't remember when exactly, but they made an active decision to simplify teachings and simplify homilies, an effort to speak to the common man. And in doing so, they've dumbed down a lot of things and dumbed down a lot of people.
Oh, okay.
And so I think it was a good idea, because they were like, we need to find a way to speak common to common people, because Western Protestantism is very simple and easy. Like under baptism, Baptist is very easy to understand, as opposed to divine simplicity. So they dumbed down a lot, and in doing so, I think they really hurt themselves, and they started themselves in the foot, because now people don't notice. Even some Catholics don't properly understand it, and so that's why it's another reason is a lot of so after the Reformation, when Protestantism kind of left, became a thing, and we voted against the Catholic Church. In response to that, the Catholic Church made a lot of good responses, but a lot of the preachers and bishops and priests took in a lot of criticism of Protestantism and kind of assisted the teaching the mass. And so there's really a distinction, I would say, between modern Catholics, pre-Vatican II Catholics, and then pre-Council of Trent Catholics in the 1700s. So there is because it's always been around, since Rome. It's been around for a long time, and so there's been a lot of iterations that have changed, and you can kind of like you can really know a lot about a Catholic if you ask them like what kind of Catholic are you? You pre-Trent, post-Trent, Vatican II? What kind of Catholic are you? And that becomes a problem with people who don't really know Catholicism. They don't really know what they're talking about a lot of times. I don't know what I'm talking about either. I mean,
no, you definitely do. But Vatican II, Trent, I do remember all those. But like, if you put a gun in my head and was like, "What are they?" I'd be like, "Guess this is my out." Like, I wouldn't be able to exactly say which happened. Like, the Council of Nicaea was another one, right?
Yep.
Was another Catholic. Again, I don't remember exactly which each of those were, but what you're saying right now, again, I grew up my whole life Catholic, and no one around me knew this shit.
Yeah.
It was all just, we just go to church Sunday, and then like we're all Catholic, right? Like we're all Roman Catholic, and we're like, yeah, like all right, we just move on. And like Catholic school again, every year was just a different type of like religious, like what was like one was like church history one year, right? And then one was like it's fucking like modern religion and stuff like that. And so like, but no one's really teaching you like these super core. It was very basic Bible level shit. I'm imagining now is what I was taught.
No, like there's a lot of great Catholic philosophy that is actually now being really popularized because people love Aquinas now. People love Augustine, and we're kind of going back into a very philosophical era in the church, which I'm excited to see where this goes. But looking back and watching older videos, you realize there was not a lot of, and it's still a problem today. A lot of Catholics don't like philosophy, and a lot of Christians don't like philosophy, and so
why is that?
What is Jacob's probably gonna hate this answer, but Protestantism, because they would Martin Luther and John Calvin looked at the history of all the church and went, "No, we know better. Let's go start our own thing."
Right.
And then that kind of picked up everybody. Go, wait a minute, we can do that, and everyone it is fractured, And even by the end of his life, Martin Luther's like, "I made a mistake," because now there's 5,000 different denominations. And doing so, everything became subjective. Everything became relative to whatever you think it is. And if enough people say, "Well, that doesn't matter. I'm just going to go to church on Sunday and not sing about it," you have more people who are lazy are going to go that route as well.
Interesting.
So that's my theory on it, but I'm not.
No, that's well good take. Stephen Kruzik, I was born well after Vatican II, but knowing how my grandfather and father felt about their faith is incredibly different from myself and my generation. It's interesting. Like this is like the first time really hearing this. Like I never really noticed that again, maybe because I dropped out so long ago in of Catholicism. I know like they changed a lot of the stuff in Mass now. Like it's like vastly different from even when I went. Well, I said junior year, senior year, so like 2003, 4. Like that's when I stopped going. So that's not that long. I mean, it's 15 years, whatever. But like, apparently, it's like a lot different now.
Yeah, there's the Latin masses, Novus Ordo English masses. There's traditional Latin masses. I went to a mass in Chicago when the guy faced east the whole way, and he wouldn't even leave your back with him because he wanted to face. It used to be you had to face the rising sun, and so it was a morning mass, and he faced where the sun would rise, and he basically his back was to you the entire time. You wouldn't see his face.
Okay. And
so there's a bunch of different ways mass is done, which I like. I wish it was more unified, and it was like this one way that's supposed to be done. But there isn't, and it's weird. A lot of Catholic, and nothing like Catholicism, all of it's regional. Like if you talk to someone who's an Italian Catholic to an Irish Catholic, these are not the same people. You wouldn't even know it's the same thing.
Right.
And you talk to American Catholics, and they're very like here's a good example. You know the Daily Wire crew, like Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles. Yeah, both of those are Catholic. Michael Knowles, I would say, is like an Italian Catholic. Matt Walsh is an American Catholic. They're very different on how they approach things. And it's when it happens, religion is this old, and if people just get locked into one location, they start saying a little bit of things here and there as it evolves. And so there's a lot of distinctions in what should be a centralized, organized, strict teaching.
So when did you say it was like the dumbing down of
Vatican II?
And when was that? Like what?
Let me look that up exactly. I want to make sure I get the right day on this.
Yeah, no, that's
Vatican
fine.
II.
Because it's interesting to see. I
mean, 1962.
Right, because I remember my mom saying my parents were born in 1955, and I could have swore I remember her telling me she remembers Mass being like only in Latin for like or something like that, and then it changed. Right? Am I right? Like it was Mass was
Latin
okay.
Mass.
So that was the standard even in America, for all the 40s, 50s, 30s, 20s.
Most of the Catholics did it in Latin, which I think is nice because you get what you're hearing is the same thing that was said, under houses in Rome, is the kind of sense. You're hearing the same. It's all been done this whole time one way, and that's, I think, a beautiful thing that we don't really have. And again, it was an effort to dumb down and make it more accessible. And the church went from calling people up high to uplift them to kind of like, hey, learn some Latin. Hey,
right.
come, listen. And like, we're going to meet you where you're at. But what they didn't do is meet them where they're at and then drag them the rest of the way. They just met them and stopped. And it's really, now we've kind of dumbed down. We've gone to the everyday level, and we're not dragging anybody up to higher things, which is sad.
This is interesting too. So do you think that hurt the church
Yes.
in the long run? Okay.
Absolutely.
Is there a way they could walk it back?
Vatican II is a weird one because technically it's vague. My understanding of it is vague. Now, there's a couple of books on out now called Reclaiming Vatican II or Properly Understanding Vatican II, because Vatican II happened and it was no more Latin Mass. Then John Paul II came out and said, okay, we can have Latin Mass again. Or maybe not John Paul. It was one of the popes. I can't remember which one it was. His name was Benedict. It was Pope Benedict, I think.
Okay.
And he brought back Latin Mass, and you could kind of have it again. And then this last pope, I think, did something. Pope Francis did something to hurt it again, and so it's kind of going back and forth based on the popes. And they could do another council, or they could do some changing. There might be another council because I recently heard they found more Dead Sea Scrolls, so they might actually have found more books of the Bible. So there might be a council to determine that kind of stuff going in the future, which would be exciting. If that does happen, I don't know what's going to come up. But it's kind of, there's been enough concessions given to the traditionalists. I think you could find where you can find good Catholicism again now, and it's just going to be a matter of time how much that grows and how much that impacts the rest of the church.
Let me get to this question first, and then I have a bunch of stuff I want to bring up, but I'll get to this question for young, bold David Brady. What are Caleb's thoughts on Pope Francis?
Like all good Catholics, I too hate the Pope.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan.
This is why the whole because he's supposed to be like a direct line to the man himself, Christ. Right? So, but he's a dude. And and again, this is not meant to come off homophobic or anything like that, but isn't it like the whole not gay thing part of the Catholic Church? Not being gay, but not acting on it part of the Catholic Church. Yeah. But then he just being like, you can fuck each other. Doesn't that just go against the fucking again? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
It's
am
weird.
I wrong?
So not really. It's okay. So in Catholicism, sin is not so black and white. It was Protestantism. It's so a typical Protestant view of sex is disgusting, gross, and wrong unless you're in a contract of marriage.
Okay.
For Catholics, it's like, no, you shouldn't have sex before marriage. At the same time, sex is a good thing. It's historical because that's 100% accurate. It's like sex is the greatest thing ever in Catholicism. It is how we take part in God's creation by continuing His creation. It is a sacrament. It is a beautiful, wonderful thing, and the church understands that and knows, hey, if you mess up, you mess up. It's not the worst thing you can. There are things that are good, like sex, that can be corrupted and done poorly outside of marriage with contraception, that kind of thing. But they don't compare to things like lying and murder, which are directly evil, and there are no good things in of themselves.
Right.
And so he's not wrong to kind of say that, but he is wrong to, I think, say in the way he did say it.
Right, because I feel like he just constantly is saying shit that contradicts the long standings of what Catholicism is. And again, I'm no expert at all. I just from what I've learned over my years, I hear him say shit all the time. But he's okay. I guess it's just weird, and I don't know. What I did want to get into is when I was young and cynical, a lot of, I feel like young, dumb 21-year-old kids are at the time. I was like, oh, religion's fucking dumb. It's stupid. It's like it hinders things. It's all the bullshit lefty things that they say now about religion. I wasn't even lefty at all ever, but I still felt that way about religion because I think I was just bitter from my growing up, not wanting to go to church and all that shit. So I was taking it out, and then as I get older and older, I realized it's not so much about God. It's about community, and it's about building each other up, and it's about getting around something and just celebrating together under something, whatever. It's not even that important at that point. It's just more about each other. And I didn't, way too old to really understand it. Now I'm like, oh yeah, it's fucking obvious. But like, which I want to get to for political stuff, because now I feel like, I said this yesterday, I think when I was on Pat McFarland, but like, you know, people on the left, they mock religion a lot. They're like, oh, it's fucking stupid. Like, oh, you guys believe a fucking, God in the sky? How dumb. But then they turn a right to fucking Biden and they're like, whatever about Ukraine. Like, what's the thing we have to learn today, daddy? And like, they just blindly follow that. Not understanding the complete hypocrisy where we're like, at least with religion and Catholicism, there's like thousands of years of like a tradition and like at least some sort of historical tendencies and fact and handed down folk and all this, everything, as opposed to literally modern men who we know lie to our face. And they're like, I believe it at full fucking face value. Like, no, you're retarded. Like, you're actually retarded. So like, was that part of it for you? Like the community, like building that?
Sort of. Like, I don't have put this. There's a lot of naturalistic benefits to Catholicism. So like, this is a simple one. The Rosary. It's the prayer most Catholics pray every day. Pray the Rosary. It's basically, in a pure naturalistic sense, it's 30 minutes of guided meditation. I see it as a powerful prayer trying to affect change. But if you look at a lot of Catholicism, it's naturalistically. Okay, confessing. I'm going to confessing what I've done wrong, getting forgiveness, and trying again. I'm meditating for 30 minutes a day. I'm giving money to charity. I'm going to beautiful buildings and trying to think of things that's not myself. Purely naturalistically thinking, all those things are goods. And even atheists will say, no, those are good things. If I told an atheist, that's what I do every day. They're like, you're doing great. I do it in Catholic Church, but you're an idiot. That's a lot. So the community is a great thing about Catholicism. Sadly, my churches are... I live in a small town, and so my church is full of 80-year-olds. I am the youngest person in the church. I'm trying to get on someone's will right now. That's my strategy.
Get a sugar bomb, bro.
That's the plan. But so I don't really have a great community there, but I have friends who are Catholic. I've made online, friends I have outside, like a few cities over. So there's a great thing in the Catholic community. That's great. But really, there's a lot of this naturalistic things that are beneficial in Catholicism.
Let's swing around to libertarianism and connecting that with Catholicism. How do they not mesh together? Are there any any antithetical of each other that there's like a mesh between liberty and the philosophy of liberty as men without religion, and then comparing that to the actual word
I
of
would
God?
say if you don't understand either one of them, yes. If you don't understand it, you're going to think that. There are ways to formulate your foundational libertarian axioms that are going to be counter to the church. Same as anarchism. Like the idea of anarchism with no gods and no rulers. If you just take that as your starting point, you're going to have a lot of problems with religion. Now, there are ways you can start both of them at the same starting point, and they can both go, they can flow well together. I think the best. So, libertarianism or libertarian anarchism, particularly right-wing ANCAP kind of stuff, is a legal ethic about solving problems. Like Papa said, it's all about solving problems, solving conflict.
Right.
So we don't believe in positive rights. We believe in all negatives. It's like, you don't have a right to this. You have a right not to do this kind of thing. Which is what it provides. Catholicism comes in, but Catholicism comes in like, hey, here's anarchism with all the things you shouldn't do, and Catholicism is all the things you should do. And so it kind of provides you the negative and the positive, I think, in both ends. I think that's why a lot of atheists who happen to be anarchists only have the negative sense. Like, I want to tear this down. You can't do this. You can't do that. There's not a lot of positives in that kind of thing. Why would you have a religion like Catholicism and you merge it with it? It gives you the negatives and the positive. What you shouldn't do, what you can do. Here's what you should be doing. So I think there's a libertarian is a legal ethic, and applying a morality to that legal ethic is a good thing. And that's why I think religion, Catholicism, and anarchism kind of go well together.
What's a common example of like someone saying how they're like how they can never work together? Like what's an easy one that you could tear apart?
A lot of anarchists would like hierarchies, and the Catholic Church is all about hierarchies, and even every religion, every Christianity is about hierarchies. It's God, Jesus, the angels, and it's us. I would say that's just stupid because you can't really get rid of hierarchies. They just exist in nature. The natural occurring saying, if you put 5 people in a room, it's going to be a hierarchy. So that's a dumb one. And then a lot of the atheists say things like, oh, well, the church has done evil things in the past, or every ideology has done evil things in the past. It's
right.
When I got into recently, it was actually from a Protestant guy, an agorist, was telling me that the church was evil because it had a teaching on war. that had a standard for actually, create when is a war good? And he said all war was bad, no war was good. I'm like, well, if you actually look at the teaching, no war meets that teaching. So we're agreeing with you. We're just laying it out so people can kind of follow it.
So what do they say? Like, so what is under that then? Like the Catholic Church? Like, because I know I obviously growing up again, I always remember the just war thing. Like, oh, World War II was a just war. I remember them telling me that all the time. Like, like Catholic school and stuff like that. So like, what if they're saying that is a just war? Then how is any war not just? Like, how does it fall under there? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a contradiction then.
I actually wrote an article on this 2 days ago. Let me get it up here so I can this. I'm gonna drop it in the chat and be listening if I want to read it later. But to kind of make out my notes in front of me for the Dust War Doctrine. So for a war to be just, it has to be a last resort. Only if all other peaceful methods fail, like negotiations, that kind of stuff. That's it. It must correct a grave or immediate ongoing evil. Must arise from a correct policy or principle. It has to be possible to succeed. You can't just send men off to die for no reason. And fourth, must be proportionate, no more than necessary. It has to have an exit strategy. So you have to make sure, so basically every war America's ever fought has been unjust because we never actually tried anything.
Right,
and we
right.
decided a lot of them. So,
right. And if you're repelling an invasion, well, that's self-defense, and that's already a fucking, it's not a violation of the NAP as is because it's self-defense. So, right.
It's also listed in just war as well. There's also in just war, it's not only for what justifies an instigating a war, what justifies defending yourself from a war, and it gives you teaching them how to wage war properly, how to take care of POWs and stuff like that. You can't just treat POWs without mercy. It waits everything you know how to defend, how to attack, and how to wage a war. It's all in Dust War Doctrine. And it's the church can look at someone and go, "Hey, you want to wage a war? Well, here's how you can do it properly." Oh, you can't? Well, that's not my problem. I gave you a teaching. Follow it.
Right. Okay, interesting. So pretty much we never fought a war. That was just right, yeah, because we never fucking did any of those things. We've always just attacked, invade, imperialism, fucking dethroning, whatever the fuck we're doing. You talked about the idea of should we have been a monarchy before, right? And I think that's interesting too. And I know the idea of we would be better off as not a constitutional monarch. What was it? A constitutional monarchy or something
corporate
like that,
monarchy or something like that.
Right,
like a Curtis Yarvin corporate monarchy type thing.
Why would that be possibly a better outcome than just a republic or democratic?
I think one democracy and republics are just democracies with lipstick on.
True.
So republics are bad because they focus on democracy. Democracy is bad because people are stupid.
True.
And so really, my view is there's only two viable options. Either you have the Bob Murphy style universal anarchism, where it's the entire world's a market, everyone's living peacefully in their own property, or you have the covenant community patchwork style. I think the patchwork works better because it allows protection and allows people to not have to deal with each other. And in my patchwork, I would want a corporate monarchy centered around the Catholic Church. I would want a company town with the Catholic Church and the people, and that'd be how I would want to live. I don't think that's for everybody. I think that's what works for me. I think that's going to provide the most security and safety because security and order and freedom have to go hand in hand. If I can have all the freedom in the world, but if I walk out my door and get shot, I'm really not that free.
Right.
So it has to be security to provide the freedom.
So it's kind of like whatever, just let one dumb guy choose things as long as he leaves me alone type scenario.
More or less. I mean, one of the good things about monarchy is that when something goes wrong, you know who to kill.
Right, there's only one direct line of power, and you're like, well, it's your fault.
You're
the one fucking shit up.
And the guy has to make sure he doesn't fuck up. Make sure he sets it up where his kid won't fuck up either. And if you have the corporate monarchy just kind of dealing with the government side of things, you have a church also involved. They're going to keep things more and be kind of a. So every government has a religious class. I went called Attila and the Witch Doctor. You're always going to have the strongman. You're always going to have the guy with the philosophy. That was just a known thing until we had this separation of church and state, and really now we just have intellectuals who are the religious class. I mean, Woodrow Wilson was the first pope of the progressive church because he was an academic who became president. And so I want to have that open, and I want to have it be my church. I want Amazon and the Catholic Church to run everything. Is my joke.
Right.
The actuality, I want a company town that provides work, provides security, and the church to provide the mores. And that'd be how I want to live in my little.
Dude, you want to live in like the town that took over the Lorax's town, like like with the clean air, like they bottle air and shit. Like you want that town.
I want to live there.
Everything's plastic. We got some good questions in the chat. Stephen Cruz against abortion. Some say we can't infringe a woman's rights, but pro-life libertarians say you can't infringe on the baby's rights.
Yeah.
That's something I actually, So again, when I was younger, I was like, well, I guess pro-choice up to a certain amount of months because, I didn't believe in the cell. I was like, it's the cells. Again, now I'm older. I'm like, no, it's killing a baby. I'm like, it's just call it what it is. It's like that Lucy K joke. He's like, they think you're of course they're mad. Like you believe they believe you're killing babies. Like how do you think they're gonna react? It's like yeah, but he's right in the sense of like that kind of is what it is. It's this whole. Then you see like these TikToks, like these fucking progressive fucking far left douchebags who are like got another abortion, and I'm like, you're a piece of shit. Like what a piece of shit.
Openly want those people dead.
Yeah,
like I openly want them dead.
Such garbage.
That is like if we lived in a just war, like, we would raise a crusade on those people. Like the Catholic Church would be killing those kind of people if we lived in a just war. Yeah,
like I don't feel bad when I see that and like I'm like this is like visceral guttural anger I get.
Yeah,
I'm like it's like you're celebrating killing an innocent life.
Yeah,
like to like fuck the right. like that's what you're doing. Like it's so fucking dumb. It's so anti-woke, but that's like the whole fucking skit.
Yeah. Well, it is a point that I can't remember who made it. I think it was Popular Liberty, Andrew. He made the point that
Needville. Yeah, sorry, it was Needville. I was thinking that's the town you want to live in. Needville.
He made the point that abortion is the. I think it was him. It was abortion is the sacrament Eucharist of the left. And honestly, looking at the left has a religious church and applying all the same like things you would look at in a like the way I look at a Catholic church and applying that same way of view the church and how the church operates and how its mechanisms all proceed, applying to progressives, everything kind of clicks. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Do you think then, as a libertarian, there should be a law against it to save the life of a baby?
If we're gonna have a federal system, yes.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
But if we're gonna, again, in my dream, patchwork style system, it's gonna be the same way as Ukraine. It's out of my hands. I can't do anything about it. I can say it's wrong, but I can't do anything. That's how abortion pretty much is. It's like if some bitch in California wants to kill a kid, well, I can say it's wrong, but I really have no ability to do anything about it.
Right? You know, like recourse. You're not gonna unless you want to go out there and fucking,
now,
avenge that baby.
Now, if there's a mechanism to like prevent that would work, then I think that's okay. Like if there is a mechanism that allows that kind of thing, we're gonna be forced all to live together, and I'm gonna have to force them, subsidize things, and we shouldn't be having abortions.
Yeah, right. But the problem is like the Texas thing is a great example, right? Like they did the abortion thing, but then California's like, oh, cool, we're gonna do that with guns, and you're like, so it's always like a rub. Yeah, it's always like a rub. That's why I'm also always like, I don't know, do I want a law? Even though I'm anti. It's like I don't know. It's like, but it's like also like that same dumb bullshit from dumb normies when like, oh, you should abolish government. They're like, so murder's just gonna be illegal? You're like, yeah, bro, yeah, totally. Like a bunch of a civil society is gonna still outlaw murder. You fucking dummy. Like it's kind of that thing.
On a point of abortion, this is something Aquinas brings up a lot, is that for a law has to be just, has to be reasonable, but also has to be practical. It's meaning that it has to work. You can't just put a law in and make it not work. And a law cannot do more evil than it's trying to prevent. So Aquinas was against making laws against prostitution. Because prostitution is bad in his mind. And I agree with him. But it's also wrong to pull your sword out and start stabbing prostitutes because they're doing that.
right.
So laws have to be practical. They have to work, and they cannot do more evil than they're trying to prevent.
Oh, hey man, that's something a libertarian position that's fucking annoying as fuck. It's prostitution thing where it's like, it's like where they're like, sex work is work. I go, sure. I'm not saying we should fucking jail them, but stop praising it like it's a fucking career, you fucking piece of shit. If you have a daughter, all these people who say that, I go, oh, really? Then raise your daughter to be a fucking prostitute. No, raise her to be because there's no problem, right? Raise her to be a prostitute.
Well,
you're not gonna, then shut the fuck up.
Those kind of losers probably gonna have to happen regardless what they do.
but it's like stop promoting. There's a difference between wanting to throw people in a cage forever and fucking parading it around like it's a good thing. You know, and there's so many dumb fucking lefty libertarians out there that don't understand that, and it's annoying. It's like, you know what? Go to the left then. They have a party for that. But like, no one's saying jail no one's saying jail heroin addicts. Yeah. But don't promote heroin as an awesome way of living.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly why I love Catholicism, like libertarian is a legal, like I said earlier, it's a legal ethic. There's higher and lower moralities, there's ethics, and then there's mores. Nobody can be virtuous unless it's freely chosen. My Rothbard said that. And so, yeah, sure, the baseline for morality has to be freedom of choice, free choice. And I could look at someone and say, my example is it is fine if an employer only wants to pay his employee $2 an hour. It is fine if the guy wants to sell heroin to a consenting 18-year-old. That is fine. Is it more? No. And I can say that it's bad, but I must understand that anything I'm going to do to stop it is going to be worse than what it is itself. Which is why the Catholic legal ethics go perfect hand in hand with like libertarian stuff. Like they perfectly coincide.
Right. No, I mean, it's a great point because it's like, all right, so what's your recourse? Well, you could ask them to stop. They're going to not. And then what's your next step? Well, I could physically get involved. Okay, well, now you're escalating the situation to more violence. And then who the fuck are you? It gets into a constant loop of like, especially, I mean, for adults. Like, I'm talking about everything, obviously 18 and over, because another thing, I'm sure the Catholic Church will agree with me on this, and I'm sure you feel the same way, but like all the trans stuff for kids, like with doctors and like parents like giving children hormone blockers. I'm like, that's child abuse. I don't know. Like, I don't think that kid's like a consenting. He doesn't know. And then like the fight back to that is like, well, it's like the kid's property. I'm like, no, it's a human being. It's like, I don't know. I feel like stunting the growth of a child is natural. It's probably the church probably be against that.
Yeah, no, it is. Honestly, anything involving justice and anything involving kids is always going to be messy because there's no good way of doing it.
Right.
I don't know who wrote it, but the idea that parents don't own their kids, but parents are stewards of their kids and they have to do what's best for their kids until the kids come of age is the only real way I think to view parenting. It's not like ownership or the kids are completely free. I mean, they just have to make sure the kids making the best decision they can for the kids' safety and the kids' development, which means not fucking up with their body and their hormones until they can do it themselves when they're 18.
Because, man, I won't say names, but like this is some fucking lots of libertarians again who are like, who are comparing that. I think in Texas, Florida, they wanted to jail the parents who were trying to hormone block their kid. And they were like, this is like the Holocaust. But if we say the mandates are like the Holocaust, that's too far.
Yeah.
But that's like the Holocaust. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, it's actually, we should be fucking stomping their fucking heads in. Like, what do you, we should as a society be like, you're harming this child. I don't give a fuck if it came out of your balls and fucking pussy. Like it's a child who's innocent. They don't have the full frontal cortex to make a life-altering decision at 6 years old. Nor do they know what gender, sex, or any of that bullshit fucking is. Yeah. And I will die on this fucking hill. I will die on this fucking hill because because I will protect the rights of children over your bullshit fucking woke agenda any day of the week. Sorry. So like,
it's so stupid. I mean, the idea your brain's not free to develop to 25. We shouldn't be doing anything. Right. I mean, it's honestly, my only time that the government should do anything is like everything moves to 25. Military, smoking, drinking, is a consent, all of it should be 25. If you're gonna have a set law, I guess 25 is the only good one.
I agree.
But yeah.
No, I was talking to Jose Gals from Tower Power. No way, Jose. Jose's the man. We were talking about like the whole, I believe it was the whole Sterner philosophy of like, he's like, obviously libertarian says like, you can't interfere with like other people's lives and their kids and shit like that. But like, again, if you see that as an adult man with actual morals and convictions, you go, I want to hurt them. I want to stop that. And then I believe he was telling me like a little bit of Stern's philosophy. He was like, yeah, you could just do that because you believe it to be right. And I was like, oh, I'll take that. Like, because like there are some like I care about libertarianism as a philosophy and the NAP to a point. Yeah. And then I don't give a fuck about any of that anymore. Then it's about just being a human being and fuck all this philosophy bullshit. It's like, how much do you care about protecting children? How much do you care about protecting an actual innocent class of a person? How much do you really care about it? Because I care about it so much, bro. I'll actually fucking die on this hill. I'll actually physically fight somebody over it. I'll go to prison. Yeah. What's your hill to die on? You know what I'm saying? I don't mean you, Kayla. I just mean like to the
Yeah,
Collective
absolutely.
view.
This is what bugs me the most about a lot of libertarians is that they want to be. They don't. What do you want liberty? You know, they say they want liberty because it's going to provide human flow. See, people are going to be better off. Okay, well, if you actually want people to be better off, then I would say not letting parents, turn their kids transgender at age of 4 is better off for everybody. You know, like you want liberty because you want people to be better off, but it actually take that all away and say, okay, there are limits where we can say, hey, you supposedly can't, convert the kid to transgenderism at 4. They can't make the kid trigger that's bad for the kid. Like, there is I think that perfectly is in line with wanting to help people make things better. That's why we're libertarians. We want to make things better. But a lot of libertarians don't. They just want to be free from everyone bugging them. The sophists. That's what they are. Sadly, Ayn Rand as well. A lot of these people are sophists.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, and I get it. Everyone's fucking selfish to a point. Like we all have our self-interest at heart, of course. Like that bullshit. Anybody says they don't is a liar. like I mean, I might have like like my wife's more of her safety over me in an emergency situation, something like that. Like, sure, I'm not saying that's bullshit. I'm saying like, if you're just going out there being like everyone out there, I feel more than I feel, you're lying. It's not the human intrinsic value we have in us. We're still animals. We still have that fucking like survival shit in us, right? Like people run over people in fires and shit. So I feel like all that's bullshit. But I do want to talk about the whole charity portion too of Catholicism and liberty. I think those go very well in hand together. And what's your whole take on the whole volunteer system and like how do you think we should implement that more into just everyday life? Like what do you think about it?
What do you mean exactly? Like voluntary system?
Like I mean, like volunteerism. Like do you think we should be pushing that? We should be pushing that more into society, like those values more into society. Like what should we start to shift culturally? Actually, that's the better way of saying it. What should we do to try to push things to shift culturally the way to even this bullshit out, like to get rid of all the fucking super left wing agenda and like how do we even things out more to just the common norm?
Make the Pope the president. Number one. No. Honestly, get involved in certs, get involved in charity. Those are the things you should do. You should work on helping people. You should work on whatever you and your area can do to make things better for anyone. Just helping people, getting involved in certs, getting involved in certs, getting a community is, I think, actually going to help. Because I put this. So social change is weird because social change really only goes from gets worse. Like social change is a fad happens and the fad gets normalized and it gets popularized, and then the fads are always brought in by people who are radical or people who are outside the norm. People outside the norm happen to be leftists normally because it's new, and so it's very hard to it's very hard to implement social change to anything better. It's very. I guess I don't know what you really could do is get people involved in something bigger than them. That's actually Mr. Bear made a point about the Catholic Church that the church has a lot of long history of, say, charity work and social justice and that kind of stuff, and people could easily get on board with that kind of thing. But I don't really have an answer for that one, I guess.
That's kind of what I'm gathering at. Like this, I think like, again, like I mean, fuck GoFundMe now, but like they were like the second or third largest insurance provider in America for like I still think they are because it's voluntary. Like people want to voluntarily give. Again, this is a basic bitch fucking libertarian point, but like
the number one thing anyone should do is try to, if you can, like, if you're going to work anything political, your number one goal shouldn't be firearms, shouldn't be anything. It should be find a way to make more mutual aid societies.
Right.
That should be the number one goal for anyone. Mises Caucus, paleo, leftist, whatever you are, mutual aid society should be the go-to thing, because no one can do anything when the insurance company is fucking them over. And so that should be the number one thing is the mutual aid. But
totally agree. It's also bullshit that like there's a law where you can only get insurance like twice a year if you have to. Like you have to get it. It's so fucking dumb.
The insurance stuff is the absolute fucking worst.
So fucking dumb. All right. David Brady, I think Hop is right about degeneracy being those behaviors that arise from a state where one is not responsible for their actions. Agree. But do you think anarchy freedom will bring a more moral society?
No, not at all. No, I think that it's a good, but I don't think it's going to make anybody more moral. Because I think freedom, honestly, so controversial take for a lot of people, but personal freedom arises better in a structure. Like if I hand you a blank page and I say draw something, most people aren't gonna know what to do. But if I give you, say, hey, here's a piece of page, draw what's in this border and draw this, I give people structure. They're gonna actually do more. And I think same with morality applies. You have to have some kind of structure, because if you don't have anything that is around you that kind of says, hey, here's right from wrong, you're gonna go back to animal instinct, and it's gonna be very hard. Most people don't know right from wrong intrinsically; they just want to do. And so I don't think if you don't have, unless at the same time the state falls, more churches rise up to provide a counter morale to people to follow. Intrinsically, people are just going to be stupid, and so I don't think there's going to be more people coming out of a anarchy freedom society, unless there's a bigger church impact involved.
My only, I guess, pushback to saying no would be, think of it as like a Wild Wild West scenario, where like if everyone has a gun, you're less likely maybe to pop your mouth off and do some crazy shit because, well, everything's a little less strict. You know what I'm saying? Like the law.
I think there would be less violence, but I don't think there'd be better people. I think there'd be
true.
less violent
Okay.
action, but I think people would be worse. I think there'd be a lot more voluntary drug use. People leaving their kids, a lot more deadbeat dads. Things if you can avoid, like convicts and keep things to prevent them going to a head. The possibility of violence stuff, but there's going to be still a lot of immoral actions that are taken amongst people who just don't want to sue each other.
Yeah, maybe, you know, when I hear moral, I just think murder and shit right away, right to like violent crime, because that's like the immediate thing that pops up in my fucking head. But yeah, like Nick Ash popping up, I think that would be a more responsible society overall. Yeah, I think it would be. It would be too. But like, yeah, I think you'd have roadblocks. I think you'd have psychopaths. But it's like anything, right? It's like when you're talking to some normal person about like you should just privatize everything. They're like, well, corruption. Like, I'm sorry, is there not that now? It's the same fucking thing where it's like, yeah, you're gonna have psychos, dude. But I think overall, if everyone's like not on edge, but everyone's like, okay, I know everybody could just kind of do their own thing. I'm not gonna just start shit.
Yeah.
I want to swinging a hammer around.
I want to get back to what Nick said real quick. I think he's right that the state, one of the things the state's done is it has robbed people of their own responsibility for their own fuck ups. And so if you don't have that apparatus that's going to be, hey, you messed up, we have a safety net for you, hey, you messed up, we're going to cover this for you, that would lead to, I think, more responsibility. But I don't think that is going to immediately correlate to people being more moral. I think it's going to people being safer, but there are a lot of people who can, do a lot of immoral things and still be successful. I mean, they'll crack out of big houses, and they'll fucking people over every day. So I think there will be an increased responsibility, but I don't know if that's going to directly lead to an increase in moral behavior. Maybe less violent behavior, but I don't think less.
I definitely think less violent. Well, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe at the first point, like when anything's new, it's like the purge a little bit, and then it will balance itself out and go back down to like very, very safe. I feel like this immediate in crime, right? Everyone's like, I can do what? And then like, I can also get shot for this, so I'm gonna not do that.
It's gonna be 12 hours in a purge and a bunch of funerals.
Which would kind of be kind of fun to watch.
I would like to. There's a lot of people I want to get rid of. I'm hoping that's going to do it for me.
Right? Yeah. You're like, I hope this block blows up from a gas truck or something like that. And hopefully my enemy's on that block. This is not so much of even a libertarian question at all, but David did ask a question earlier that I actually always question too. The fuck is it?
Is it the weed one and the psychedelic one?
Yes.
I am a...
let's read the question. So Kayla wants to know what you think of theories about the psychedelics and the burning bush, various events in the Bible, etc. Yeah, because I always thought that was a very strong, like the Stone Ape theory from Terrence McKenna, right? About how
I like the Stone Ape.
Yeah, I like it too. It makes fucking sense. So like, I think that, especially if you're telling me that Old Testament God and New Testament God was kind of a dumbed down version for us.
So one of the things very big in Catholicism, is that there's a lot of naturalistic things that, like, we have incense, we have a lot of things that are to help you reach the spiritual plane kind of thing, like rituals and traditions that put you in the right mind space to go forward and do something that is a spiritual thing. I don't see why that's anything like the idea we spray incense around at church when we do mass. I think it's very easy idea to think that there's definitely some people that left some drugs and had religious experience, and that kind of converted some people, and it was I think it's completely compatible. I don't know. I can't say for sure what was what, but I don't see anything really wrong with the idea that there was psychedelics involved with that kind of stuff, like Moses and the Bun Bus.
So do you think that all that shit was parables, or do you actually believe like the Ark and stuff? Because I don't know.
No. It's I just watched a debate yesterday on young Earth creationism. Because the Catholic Church allows for it. So
what are they allowed for? I'm sorry.
So the Catechism is great. Is they say, like, here's an example. I believe in evolution. The Catechism is, I'm allowed to believe in evolution on the condition that I believe that that God at one point among the evolutionary states, God breathes a soul into man, kind of thing. So like I don't have to hold to God snapped Adam and Eve out of the dust.
Intelligent design, is that what that is?
Sort of. So it's some involvement with that, but it's more as I can say I believe Fisk some sea creatures that came to land and evolved in monkeys and gorillas and missing links and that kind of stuff. But as long as at some point in the line when it went from oh my god, what's it called? The Neanderthals or whatever the next thing was, God breathes a soul into there. So William Lane Craig, who's not a Catholic, but wrote a great book recently called The Search for the Historical Adam. And his theory is that there was the type of humans that are like very early versions of us, and Neanderthals that intermingled. And so some had rational souls, and like Adam and Eve, and that there were some that didn't have rational souls, so they didn't have the regular Christian concept of a soul, and they were more like animals. And so the Catholic Church, I'm allowed to believe that on certain conditions. The Young Earth is the same way. So I can hold to a literal reading of Genesis that said God made the earth in 7 literal days, and the earth is only 8,000 years old. But I'm not forced to hold to that. I can hold to any view as long as it's within the scaffolding of what the Catholic Church has laid out.
So pretty much you could believe in the 14 billion, whatever the fuck, as long as you're like, well, God made it.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't have to. I don't have to have a. I am not tied to a literalistic reading of Genesis or any of the other Christian.
Interesting. Okay, here's a question for you. So talk about Neanderthals and the Dionesans, right? The little people. They're like the little versions of people, and then Homo sapiens. And is it still then that we were created under God's image? Is that still the still the Catholic teaching, right?
Yeah, that's actually the only thing I really have to hold to is that we were made in the image of God and that He breathes a soul into us. Okay. I once had this is actually a funny side anecdote, but I had a friend who was Catholic, and we were talking about image of God. He's like, "But you believe in evolution?" I'm like, "God could be a giant gorilla looking down." It's like, where the hell go?
Right. Okay.
But
so
not really.
Right. No, but that's kind of my question though. Is like, so we're Homo sapiens, and we're assuming it was us, but why wasn't it Neanderthals or the Dioneses, wherever the fuck?
Yeah.
They're
So
why,
the Catholic view is,
but they were very Homo sapien like, right? I mean, walking bipedal things that had brains and shit.
So here's my take. So here's my explanation. Now this is just me talking. It's not me representing.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
But my view, and this is completely allowed by the Catholic Church. Excuse me. There's something about humans that have a rational soul. They are thought to be real rational animals. So in the Catholic view, we call that a rational soul, meaning it's something different from us, that we have souls that animals don't have. We can reason. And so along the evolutionary line, there were Homo sapiens who had the ability to reason and rationalize, and there were the Neanderthals, the other ones that did not. And the ones that became ones that have a rational soul, that's God breathed into them. Particularly when they evolved to the point where the soul manifested, pretty much. So the soul manifested in them and didn't manifest in others. And so the ones that were reasonable, obviously their genes are strong, so they're going to pass down. They're going to breed more because they're smart. They're going to survive longer because they're smarter. Okay. But they're going to intermingle and breed with the Neanderthals. This is a recent theory popularized by William Lane Craig in his new book, Search for Historical Adam. Okay,
that's very interesting. Okay, because because when you say rationalize, I know obviously us as Homo sapiens, we kept evolving with speech and fucking obviously, and Neanderthals kind of just died out. But like they still had, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but Neanderthals did have like families. Like they weren't like just monsters roaming the fucking countryside. Absolutely. So they did have a sense of community and like, but they just didn't fully. They didn't. So they didn't have
the cortex wasn't fully developed.
Okay, so I guess my question then is, at what point is it rationalized? You know what I'm saying? At what point is it officially rationalizing? So community isn't rationalizing, like a sense of family is rationalizing. It has to be like more than that.
This has to be a how do I put this? I'm gonna go with a natural law type thing. So St. Augustine said that the intrinsic knowledge of right and wrong is put in the hearts of man, which is God's law, which is natural law. And being able to understand and know what natural law is going to be, I think, a intrinsic part of being able to reason to a belief in right and wrong, not just intrinsically know right and wrong. So the Neanderthals could know community, safety. They could think in a pure A to B kind of term. Like a dog can see someone walk inside the house and go, my master's inside the house, and I got to wait here for him to come out. But there's another layer to, he's inside. Let me open the door, get inside, and be with him because he provides security, safety, and food. There's an extra step of reason along the way that I think the Homo sapiens could do it, the Neanderthals couldn't.
Interesting. Okay. So is that why the whole animal thing is out of the question? Because they're just fucking, even though they're smart, they're just not.
Yeah. They don't have They don't have a rational brain, they have a rational soul. They don't have that capacity. So
It's wild though, because like you see, like when you watch gorillas and chimps and like apes, like other apes, like especially like okay, there's this video, dude. I wish I could find it, but like it was some orangutan sanctuary because and they were trying to save a bunch of orangutans, and they had like 5 baby orangutans, and the whole goal is to reintroduce them back into the fucking wild so they could populate and stuff like that. But they weren't taught the natural fear of snakes because they were brought up by humans. So what they did was they had to teach them to be afraid of snakes in the wild to not go get fucking wiped and be a fucking number. So what they did was all these orangutan little babies are playing in this middle of this room, and they have this box, and under the box is a fake rubber cobra. This is fake on a string, and they pull the box and they fucking yank the cobra, and the cobra pops up, and it's the way they reacted, dude, was so human being like. You're like, hey, there's something there. Like, there's, I can't describe it, but they stopped and looked at it, and they all huddled together, like, and they hugged each other, like it was so, but just like human children would do. And you're like, I don't know, man. I don't think they're just dumb animals, especially other fucking primates and stuff. So like, I understand. Like, if Neanderthals don't make the cut, then okay, a gorilla's not. But like, I feel like they're more than a bird.
Definitely. There's something there. There's definitely something with gorillas or monkeys and primates that is closer to humans than other animals. I can't remember what, but they started some anthropology recently discovered that the gorillas who would make tours get more food, like fishing spears. They're ones that would also just sit and stare at beautiful sunsets, and they apparently think they worship God now. Like there's some anthropologists who think the gorillas have constructed shrines and are worshiping a god. Which is crazy to think about.
That's wild.
Yeah. What's the meme saying, take that ACS, even your missing link believes in God.
Hey, Nick, right? Thank you. I wasn't bullshitting. I'm telling you. It was very human being like. I'm just like, I also, and this is like a more funny version of what I'm saying, but still, I watched it. It was a zoo. It was gorillas in the zoo, and it was raining. And this gorilla is like he's up against the wall, like with his hands out, like he's scaling like a fucking like a high rise, and he's skirting under the like overhang so he won't get wet, and then puts his hand out. He's like, and like skirts. Yeah. He shook his head no, no, I'm not gonna.
There's something weird about gorillas able to pick up human like attributes, like sign language and like facial expressions. That's just a weird thing they can do. I don't know if it's because you see dogs that can like nod their head and kind of thing.
Sure, but
I think it's more that gorillas are closer anatomy wise to us. That when they do the same thing a dog does, it looks more human. But also, I do think there's something more human about them than say dogs or birds. I think it's because they are like the mammals with the same
facial stuff and fucking hands and shit. I know. Well, that's something because I mean I have dog and I love my fucking dog to death. But like when we go outside and it's raining and he's want to go outside in the rain, he'll just stop and like look up and be like, "Come on, dude," and look at me and be like, "Fuzz, we're doing this." But like when you watch these gorillas do it, or watching gorillas hold like another baby gorilla. And like they hold them like this, like a mother, like a human mother. It just, I know I'm saying basic shit that everybody knows, but I'm just saying like when you really start to analyze it, you're like, dude, I don't know, man. I can't speak on the whole religion part of God and soul shit, but like I feel like they're more so than just a fucking bug or some other dumb fucking other animal. And I feel like we should give them more credence, I guess, than what they deserve.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah. All right, man, we could wrap it up here. Caleb, dude, you were fucking awesome. Please tell me where they could find your podcast and your socials and all that stuff.
So I am on YouTube at Faith, Liberty, and Praxis. I'm on Twitter at CalebBrown549. And if you are enjoying if you enjoy the Catholic stuff, I also run a website called Austrian-Thomism, which is the intersection of Austrian economics and Thomistic philosophy. Got a lot of great guys over there. We do roundtable podcasts. I got Popular Liberty coming on this month. We got a few articles up there now on Dust War Doctrine, One We Can Learn from St. Lawrence. And so, yeah, definitely can check me out and follow me on all the stuff.
Yeah, and if you guys have to denounce your love of Jacob Winograd. If you guys like him, unsubscribe from his podcast and block him on all social media. That's a rule. You guys hate Jacob Winograd. Okay, you guys know where to find me at Adam Nutter and all this stuff. Everybody, thank you for listening. Go buy a shirt. Darthinth.com/store for shirts. Go buy a shirt. Go buy a shirt.
Go buy a
All
shirt.
guys, go buy a shirt. Caleb, don't jump off. I just want to say goodbye and shit off air with you. But everybody else, thank you for joining. And as always, it's been fun. Peace.
Thanks for listening. Find Adam on social media, Twitter and IG @AdamNutter, or Facebook and TikTok @AdamNutterComedy. And for podcasts and merch, check out www.droptent.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
This has been a Drop Tent